Did you choose the smallest font available to print, or do you need?
You care about my
Do you need magnifying glass for that?
This is just so you.
Look at how big my font is.
This is so you. This is exactly what
See,
we're
I
here to talk
spaced
about today.
spaced all my points out. Look at how my points are spaced.
Steve is so like, well, this needs to be a little bit more indented. Oh, well, the font seems a little bit different here, doesn't it?
Detail.
Is the size a little bit different?
Isn't it
We're
amazing?
literally just sending an email to say hello.
We're so blessed.
Who's blessed?
We are.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
For your obsession of everything?
Not only do I prepare the month coming, but I do a deep dive on the month prior. And so many entrepreneurs, they're rolling, it's like the second of the month. They're like, okay, what's our goals for the month? And I'm going, you are done.
I remember just hearing you have a conversation. Actually, I've heard you have 1,000 of these conversations. What are your goals for the month? And when they're silent on the other end, you're like...
It's like, hey, what's your goal for the month? It's a second. What's your goal for the month? Well, I like when it's on Zoom because you can see their eyes go. And then it's almost a question. They're like, to make 10 grand? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, you are in for another treat. We have Lexi back in house. Hey, Lex.
Hello.
Are you excited?
Yeah, I can't wait. This is going to be the best topic of all times.
Should we tell them about the domestic we were having a minute ago?
We should have recorded it. We should have recorded it.
Yeah. What were we arguing about?
We were arguing about Steve doesn't like how small my font is. Has nothing to do with him. Literally, it's not his notes, my notes. Asks if I can have a smaller font. Could you have found a smaller font?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's amazing.
Look at how ridiculous your font is.
My font,
so you're gonna have to flip a page. That's just silly.
Yeah, I got a couple pages here. Should we get into it?
Yeah, we're going to.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the idea of preparation, how it's important in business. You know, for me, it's preparation has become an obsession. And it's really the foundation that I built my business on, and we're going to get into that and a little bit more. So, what's your thoughts about my obsession with preparation, Lex?
Okay, this is funny. This is funny because we were like, what should we talk about for our next podcast? And I'm like, I have an idea. You know how you always say you're neurotic? Let's talk about how you're neurotic. So Steve's like, that's a great idea. So without knowing, Steve and I separately go off our own ways, and we like meet back together the next day. And I'm like, okay, I Googled neurotic, and Steve's like, me too. I don't think we should say that.
So embarrassing. People that are neurotic are?
They are, did they say sociopath? No, they said that they are not sociopaths.
Not sociopaths. People that are neurotic are, what do they say?
They're narcissists.
Narcissistic. And I was like, yeah, girl, let's do an entire podcast on my YouTube channel about how me, Steve Holbrook, is a complete narcissist. And then we thought, you know what? That's probably not appropriate nor accurate. But I do have a few neurotic tendencies.
I don't think I'm a narcissist. I was like, no, you're not a narcissist. So
I'm a little neurotic with planning and obsession, and I like things done a certain way. Yeah.
You definitely like things done a certain way.
Listen, for me,
Lightly.
Look,
You said lightly.
for me, business, this is my sport. So this is my sport. So in a sport, athletes have tendencies. They show up at a certain time. In hockey, they tape their stick a certain way. Yeah. Sometimes the same person has to come out of the tunnel for warm up. For me, I think maybe the older I get, the more tendencies I have. What do you think?
But Steve would be like, oh, I can't use a stick. It's not taped properly. Mm-hmm. Like it would be like, we got to get a whole new stick and we got to retape the whole thing. And it's like, if just something's off, it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I like things done a certain way, don't I?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everything.
Yeah, maybe give some examples.
Like, okay, here's some examples. So if Steve wants something taped on the board, it has to be taped perfectly. Like there's no just like, it's not a simple task for him. It's not like, oh, just throw it on the, it's like, no, it's not perfectly centered. It's not perfectly centered into these lines. No, it's slightly not, it's not taped properly. It needs to be taped on the inside and it needs to be all four corners. And
I don't know if you guys can relate, but when something's set up, if it's crooked or the corners are off, for me, it's a mind block. It impedes me from doing my job. When I walk into a room, if the lines aren't straight, I can't make phone calls.
You realize how ridiculous that is?
Tell me.
And Steve will set up a whole meeting to discuss it. There will be a meeting coming about something that didn't go perfectly the way he wanted it to.
I'm not going to be emotional in the moment. I'm going to make a little note, and when the timing is right, we're going to address things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one example.
Yeah.
That's just one.
What else?
Well, like I just mentioned, a meeting. There is a planning. Anything that needs to be planned, there's going to be a couple meetings to plan that planning.
Yeah, maybe talk. Well, let's talk a bit about preparation and how we like to prepare.
Well, we just talked about it the other day when we were thinking about what are we going to talk about, and it was like Steve goes, "Oh, you're right. Well, for that meeting, we have 2 meetings next week to discuss it." I'm like, "Yeah," and everything else. Yeah. We meet every day. So we meet 5 days a week.
At what time do we meet? Tell the viewers.
8:30.
Yeah. So I like to meet 30 minutes every day before the day starts so that we can prepare. Like for me, going into a meeting or going to a training or going into an event, like for me, like I like to be prepared. I don't like to go into a meeting. And I think where that comes from, I really thought about it the other day when preparing for this. Where does that come from? I like to bring value.
Yeah.
I like to bring value. I am spontaneous. I'm kind of goofy from stage. People who follow me know I'm kind of a goofball at times, but I always think if I'm sitting on the other side of that meeting, or if I'm on the other side of that training, or if I'm sitting in a room for an hour listening to somebody speak, you know me, I'm sitting in every training and I'm either pulling my hair out or I'm thinking about how well this meeting's going, because I'm like, it could have been better prepared. Speakers weren't prepared. The product partners didn't prepare. Nobody knows what's going on. The meeting's kind of scattered. And I feel like that brings uncertainty to the meeting. And when there's uncertainty, people wonder like what kind of an operation this is. I mean, am I overthinking it?
I was just going to say, but that's just you.
Yeah.
Those are you see such small details that it makes everything, right? But most people don't recognize those things. And for you, it's everything. It's not just the speakers, it's the lighting, it's the sound of the microphone, it's the music that we're using, it's the start times, is somebody running late, it's like which all that stuff is so internal that people are not noticing that, but they matter to you. And I mean, they should matter to more people. I think that's what makes you successful, right? But
yeah, I think it's the double-edged sword of like trying to be a visionary, trying to be so forward thinking, is that, you know, and I do recognize there's areas that I do need to let go and that I have let go, I think. But I have an idea, like we're planning our annual convention for next February. So like I'm already, it's 8 months away, but I'm already thinking, how do I want them to feel when they walk in the room? You're right. How do I want the lighting to be? What do I want the stage to look like? What do I want the experience to be? And ultimately, when everybody's leaving that conference, how do I want them feeling overall? And I feel like, I guess I take on a lot of responsibility, for how people are feeling. If someone's showing up to the office, what's their experience that day?
Yeah.
Someone's paying to go to an event. What's their experience? And I think the hardest meetings for me to be in are the events that we go to that I have no control over. That's like 4 days of anxiety.
We had one recently.
Anxiety in a bottle, right? Shake it up, drink it down, anxious the whole time because I have no one to text. Hey, turn the mic up. I'm getting feedback. The lighting's off. And to me, it's just like, I want to have my claws in that stuff, or I want to have someone like you who I can just message, Alexa,
ding, ding,
Alexa,
ding, 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 ding.
Alexa, fix. So yeah.
Yeah.
But it's what I think it's what's helped me I don't want to say what's made me, but it's,
you know what's crazy is that the things that we notice, like we'll be like, I don't know, that was not a good event. Like we need to figure out what we're going to do about that next time. Like it was a disaster. Yeah. And people are like, that was the best event I've ever attended. And we're like, wow, isn't that kind of crazy how we're just like,
yeah,
I don't know.
But what do people usually say when they leave the SCGT events? What do people always say? That was incredible.
There's never been a negative comment.
Best event I've ever been to.
It's always the best event anyone has ever attended.
Exactly. I've been to all these other events. I'm on a different team. I'm with a different company. I've been in with different industries. I come to this event. It's mind blowing from the staff to the registration
It was even when we weren't running big events. It was like having a small little event at the office. It was like running one at the hotel, a small hotel. And it was like, people were like, that is unbelievable. And now we're running these events with like hundreds of people at huge convention centers. And it's like, it's just crazy. It's
because we're obsessed with preparation.
Yeah.
We're obsessed with preparation.
And the details.
So what are some things that, obviously I think it's clear how I am. I'm exposed. The title of this YouTube should be Steve Holbrook Exposed. We talked about that.
I was just trying to see if there's anything else I need to expose
I'm sure there's a few more things. But how does somebody who's running a business and running a team who has those obsessions of preparation, how do they pass that down? Because there's probably somebody watching going, well, how do you can't have control over everything. You can't do everything. You can't be everything. But talk about how it's important that you have the proper team, staff, you lay it out, give people responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, they're an extension of you. They're the people that are going to do everything for you. So it's important that they are just like you. Not obviously, they're never going to be just like you, but
they know what you're thinking.
I'm like, we've worked together for so many years that I know exactly what Steve's going to say about everything. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's something that was printed. Doesn't matter if it's the music that's playing, if it's the time, I always know what he's going to say. So, I mean, for me, I like to be on top of those things because I don't want you to say something to me first. I'm like, I want to catch it before he says it to me. I don't know, but everyone's kind of different, right? Like some people probably just want to avoid the anxiety of it. And they're like, okay, we got to be on top of it. So Steve doesn't say anything.
Yeah. I think though, like the people that try and avoid it, they probably don't last long. Like I think of all the staff we have now and how amazing there are. I think they all have a part of that. They may not all think like I think, but they know how I think. Yeah. So like when something's off, a lot of times, whether it's you, Tish, Vic, John, right, all these amazing staff, Jazz, I'll get a text with, I know how you're feeling, or I'll get a random text being like, fix the mic feedback. It's done. Yeah. Like stuff that's getting fixed on the go. And I think that just that preparation mindset, if I'm a 10 out of 10 obsession preparation, and then I can filter that at 8.5 out of 10 to my staff, I just think, I don't know, for me, it sets the right tone.
We're always like, Steve's going to freak. I'm like, hurry up. Steve's going to lose his mind. Obviously, you never lose your mind. You never freak out. But we joke. We're always like, he's going to freak out about the music. Yeah. Turn up the music. Turn up the So there's always like this like anxiety between John and I when we're running an event. I'm like, turn it up louder.
It's, and it's so funny, but I care so much about the experience. Like I've been to events and I've been around leaders who it's like, they just don't fully care.
Yeah.
They're just like, we'll get the people here and whatever happens. I've been to events where the organizers are planning the speakers on the back of a napkin the night before, right? They flip over a 24 can of kokanee and they're planning the speakers and they're texting people the night before. And
that's your biggest nightmare.
It's my nightmare.
Yeah, that's your biggest nightmare.
I want to run as far away from that as possible.
Yeah.
Why don't we transition into this session with my calendar?
Yeah.
Because I think that to me, like my calendar is everything.
Yeah. If something is off, it's like, Lexi.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it goes. Like, what are some things with regards to the calendar?
If something's missing from your calendar, that has got to be the worst possible thing that would ever happen to you. Like if you're like, there's a call today I didn't
Yeah.
know about, it's going
Yeah.
to throw off your whole day. You're going to be like, what the heck?
And I think that what that says is that I rely so heavily on my calendar. You know, I've been talking for years, my podcast, and the stuff I talk about, I actually do it. Do I do it every day? No, nobody does everything every day. So if I'm 90% effective, that would be a huge win. But every night before bed, except last night.
I was like,
was a bad
literally
example.
except last night.
It was a rough night last night, but with, 90% of the time before I go to bed, I pre-plan the next day. I go through my calendar. I'm asking myself, what time do I have to get up? What time do I want to be at the gym? And what time do I need to be at the office? And then I'm writing a power list of all the meetings that I have to do. I'm preparing for all the meetings. So yeah, if there's something that's not on my calendar or there's a Zoom code missing, God forbid there's a Zoom code missing.
There's nothing worse than I know when it's like it's like 4:00 on the nose or 4:30 on the nose and my phone starts ringing. I'm like, it's a Zoom code. It is a Zoom code. So it's funny because as much as we do prepare sometimes and we meet every morning and I'm always like, okay, we look through your calendar. There are times where, and it's the one time, it's always the one time that you don't do that specific thing. Like we got carried away, we're talking about other things. Mm-hmm. We don't check the calendar that day. That's the exact day he's going to give me a call. And he's like, there's a Zoom code missing. And it's like, really? Well, every other day, there's never a Zoom code missing.
Good news for you. It's never a big deal. It's never a big deal. I operate with grace and patience. And, that's part of being the best boss. It just comes with the territory, right?
No comment.
Yeah. You made a comment to me the other day about some of my obsession and preparation is rubbing off on you. And Joel, your husband made a comment.
Make the comment. Yeah, my husband made the comment.
Tell everybody about that.
So I have my own business and it's a photo booth business.
It's a great business, by the way.
When there's an event coming up, I'm like, okay, is everything charged? Joel, did you charge it? Where's the chargers? Did you do that thing that I told? And I get like crazy, even though the event's not till whatever. I just start to get so obsessive and there's an anxiety that builds up, right? Because you want to perform so badly. So I actually do relate. As much as I joke with you, I relate very much because the worst case scenario is showing up to an event and being like, oh my, we didn't think about this. And now we can't fix it.
Yeah.
Or now it's a disaster. Now I'm panicking on the day of the event when I could have done this last week.
Well, and you have all these people relying on you. You're showing up to this event.
For sure.
Your reputation's
Everything's on you. Everything's
everything.
on me. You know what? I 100% relate. I finally get it. I get it. No, but he was like, so I think I finally was like, sorry, I know I get like really crazy. I know I'm like crazy when it comes to like the events. I just really want everything to be good. He goes, yeah, you're like Steve Holbrook at the airport.
It's true.
When it comes to
it's true.
Events.
It's true.
But like, I don't know if that's something that's really rubbed off on me or if maybe that's why we've vibed so well is because really we have a lot of similarities. Like there is a lot of things that we relate to each other on and maybe that's why we worked so well together. I mean, I never really...
Well, I think in my business, it's like you see how I operate and then you're like my support person and then you have your business and sometimes you're taking the lead and at times Joel's your support person and probably vice versa at times, right? So, or never vice versa, right?
Wow. That actually like really opened my eyes now that you just said that. Is that like, yeah. I feel like I now understand you better than I did before. Cause I'm like,
wow, this is amazing. We had a breakthrough
this is like therapy.
Do we have a live breakthrough?
This is like therapy.
Wow. And by the way, if you guys can relate to this stuff, throw something in the comments or hit us up because I think it's important. For me, I don't know about you, but like for me, it comes from a place of like, I don't want to have anxiety.
No.
I don't want to be anxious.
Totally.
I'm also not the kind of person, like I do love spontaneity, like, whether it's a weekend away with the kids or a date night, like I'm not planning all that stuff. But when it comes to business, it's like, I don't want any surprises.
Yeah.
I want to be able to predict the outcome. Yeah. I'm working my ass off every single day and I'm working harder than most people first person here, right? I'm here long after a lot of people leave. I want to make sure I have someone to show for it too. Like
totally.
And I mean, you're probably the same way.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And you know what? I think I do understand you better. As much as I like to joke about it, I'm like, I am just like you.
You are just like me because I've seen you in action and I'm like, she's just like me. She's a freak.
Well, as much as I think that, oh, it's Steve that cares, I'm like, I care too, because I'm thinking at that moment, I'm like, what are people thinking about the music being so quiet? Or what are people thinking about the microphone not working? Like Steve and I are freaking out. Like imagine everyone else is, because it's a distraction when something, probably in our eyes, but probably for everybody too. Like there's feedback in the microphone or in the beat, like something is off, right?
Yeah.
People are subconsciously picking that up.
Yeah.
And when there's more of those things, right, there it's like, oh, this is a disaster.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like you and we're really in tune with energy.
Yeah.
Right. We're energy people.
For sure.
So we can feel like we can feel a shift in energy before people feel the shift in energy.
Yeah.
And we can almost predict it.
Yeah. And we're like, fix it now.
Fixing it before we get ahead of it.
Totally.
So a lot of people are like, whoa, that was the greatest event ever. They're like so fired up because a lot of the little things got caught before it hit them.
Totally.
Yeah. So on this theme of preparation, I want to transition to goal setting, right? You and I, we've been setting goals at the beginning of the month for 9 years. And just how important it is for everybody watching. Like I'm around entrepreneurs all the time, and I don't want to say it drives me crazy because I don't really attach my emotions to what other people do or don't do anymore. It used to drive me crazy, but I'd say it's shocking to me how little preparation people put in at the beginning of the month to hit their goals. Like I'm talking about, I approach my monthly goals like I'm going to war. Like absolute war. Like there'll be at least a 2-hour in my office meeting by myself, end of the month. Not only do I completely do a deep dive, not only do I prepare the month coming, but I do a deep dive on the month prior. And so many entrepreneurs, they're rolling, it's like the second of the month. They're like, okay, what's our goals for the month? And I'm going, you are done. You are done. Like it's so easy to pass people in business that don't set goals and prepare for their goals. It's like running them over on like the fast lane. Yeah. It's like a little boom, boom. You hit that gopher at full speed. Boom, boom. You're like, did I hit something? That's people that are casual with preparation for their goals.
There's nothing like, I remember just hearing you have a conversation. Actually, I've heard you have 1,000 of these conversations. 1,000. Like, I swear to God, in 9 years, I've heard you say this so many times. What are your goals for the month? And when they're silent on the other end, you're like, you've got to be. And then they'll give you something and you're like, have you thought about them?
This is my favorite.
So clear that they have not thought about it up until the moment that you ask them, which for you, it's like, that is crazy. That is for you. That is like, if it's the third of the month and you haven't thought about your goals, the second of the month, you're like,
it's a hope and a prayer.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a better chance of winning the lottery this month than hitting your goal. Honestly, it's like, Hey, what's your goal for the month? It's a second. What's your goal for the month? Well, I like when it's on Zoom because you can see their eyes go. and then it's almost a question. They're like, to make 10 grand?
And your anxiety is like,
I'm like, are you asking me a question, or are you telling me what your goal is?
And it's a mentorship call. On top of all that, it's a mentorship call where they're like, I have to sit down with you, show up with nothing. Not even their goals.
Haven't thought about it. And I mean, people come by it honestly, because in the employee world, you don't have to set goals. No. My favorite is when there's 2 or 3 on the call and it's like, hey, what's your goal? I want to make 7 grand. What's your goal? 7,100. What's your goal? 7,200. You're like, okay. Nobody's thought about this at all. So like, all jokes aside, it's, as much as I prepare for events and the calendar and the day, it all ties back to my goals.
You also have yearly goals. It's not monthly, it's yearly. It's 5-year goals. You've got a lot of goals.
I got a lot of goals.
Yeah.
5-year goals.
But you don't just
goal.
set them to set them.
No.
You set them to hit those goals.
Yeah.
Like if you don't hit those goals, you're like,
yeah.
the hell was I doing? Even
100%.
though you're working your ass off, you're always like, that was a disaster. I'm such a loser.
Such a loser.
I'm like, well, we've had a record month, but okay.
I don't actually think I'm a loser. I just joke around. But I will say something, and I talk about this a lot. It's like my big goals, with the exception of the one I just hit, to hit senior executive vice chairman, in general, I never hit a big goal on the date that I set, but I always end up hitting my goal.
Yeah.
Because I'm obsessed with that goal. And it might, it might take me 6 months longer or even a year longer for the big ones. But once I set a goal, and once I sink my teeth into it, it's done.
I think that's a difference between you and everyone else, because people set them just because they're like, okay, I have a business now, I should be setting goals. Whereas you're setting them, like I said, to hit them.
Attacking it like it's a war.
And you are like, you know your numbers, you know what you're supposed to be at this time of the year, you know every month what you need to do, you know it, and you're like, it's all you think about. If people did that with their businesses, they'd be exactly where you are today. Like they'd be like obsessed like you are. It's all about like those numbers for them, and it's all they do, and it's all they think about, and it's because that's the way that you are. You're just, it's like you'll do anything to hit, ethically and morally, to hit those goals because you set them. And that means so much to you. Like,
it does mean a lot to me.
It does mean a lot to you.
And I think I get satisfaction in going after it.
Yeah.
But for
hitting them.
And hitting them.
Where so many people are like, didn't hit it.
Oh my God. They even do that too. They even do that. Didn't hit it. You've nailed it. That's exactly what they look like. For me, it's like when I set a goal, like for those of you watching, if you've been inconsistent with setting goals and hitting your goals, you've been in your business way too long, you're not making nearly enough money. It's on you. It's nobody else's fault. It's on you. But maybe you've been approaching it like a hobby. And I use this example, and again, it's a pretty drastic example, but if it was do or die, and if it was life or death, you would find a way. Yeah. You would freaking find a way.
That's my favorite. I say that all the time. I'm like, okay, but if you really, because so many people are in this business full time. Like if I was doing something full time, I'd be like, okay, this is a very serious thing. Like my family is depending on me to do this. Like I can't show up at 10 o'clock and be like, don't know what my goals are this month, but I'm at the office. Yeah. I'm here, I'm hanging out, but like
great job being in the office, but you're still going to lose.
Totally. You have a game plan. No plan. Yeah. You don't have a plan for your day. Yeah. You don't have goals for the month. You don't even know what you're
like if you think of it, if you had to set a do or die goal, what you would do is you do this. You would set the goal for the month, and then you would sit down and you would say, okay, what resources do I need? Who do I need to get help from? Do I need to hire childcare once a week? Do I need an assistant? Yeah. What do I need? Right. And then you would approach the people in your life. You would have a conversation with your spouse. Listen, honey, I'm going on a journey this month. This is a very important month. Here's my goals. Here's where I need you. Then you'd be accountable to somebody. You go to a mentor. Yeah. These are my goals. This is how I want to be accountable. And then you would define your hours of operation. And then you would build your calendar. And then you would put everything in the calendar, and you would do everything in the calendar.
Like a real business.
And then at the end of the month, you either hit your goal, you hit it early, or you're really close. Yeah. But those are really the only three options.
Yeah. And so many times you see this like huge goal and people just literally get nowhere near it. Yeah. I'm like, how did you set such a large goal and get nowhere? Literally, it couldn't have been further away. You didn't try. Yeah. You didn't try, or you were unrealistic because you don't know where your business is truly at. Like if you were to know where you're at in your business, you wouldn't have set something so unrealistic, right? Like
I know why. Because they're unloading their dishwasher at 11 a.m. on a Thursday because there's no hours of operation. It's like, people come, they sit and they go, I need help with my calendar. And I'm like, well, your calendar, your habits and your behaviors is a byproduct of the standard that you set. So if you have low standards, People come and they go, fix my calendar. It's not a calendar problem. It's a, what are your goals? You have no goals.
Yeah.
According to the goals that you have not written down and that you have not thought about, mowing your lawn at noon on a Friday is perfectly acceptable.
You can't
it's within the lines.
Yeah. You can't set up a calendar if you don't have goals.
Exactly.
There's no starting point. It's like, well,
if it all starts with the goals and the goals are going to dictate kind of where you go, like you tell me, how much preparation should you spend on them? How much time should you spend thinking about them? Should you have a goal binder like we've been talking about? Should you read your goals every morning? Should you enroll people? 1,000%. Only if you really want to win. If you want to say that you have a business because it sounds sexy and you get to tell your family at Christmas, "Ooh, I have a business. I'm a businessman."
Body movement. Please.
I'm a
between you using the word sexy and
I'm a businessman. Should I take a button down?
No.
Okay. I'm a businessman.
Oh yeah.
Right? But at the end of the day, if your business isn't profitable, then you're not going to be in business for very long. You're going to be an Uberman. Last thing I think we should cover is it's the second half of the year already. What did you do the first half of the year?
Yeah. And what were your goals? Yeah. Where were you supposed to be?
No, I mean, what did you do?
What did I do? Imagine. I'm like, I wasn't prepared for this.
I was just kidding.
Yeah. Like it's July.
Yeah.
We're halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Where are you at with your goals? Are you going to hit them at this point?
So I think there's probably a lot of people watching that, set some goals at the beginning of the year. And may or may not be where they want to be. So I want to talk about a strategy because I had this question yesterday or a couple of days ago from somebody, and they said, starting the second half of the year, if you're not where you thought you would be, what do you do? Do you abandon your business plan? Do you create a new one? Or, what should your thought process be? So here's where I'm at. I'll give you guys a little bit of advice. If you've completely derailed from your business plan, like I'm talking, it's so off pace that you are like demoralized. Look at those goals. That's pathetic. Those little goals. Like if that's how you're talking to yourself, like there's no way you're going to do it. You're in your own head about, I'm so far away and there's no chance. Well, then you need to like literally start fresh and make a 6-month game plan. But for most of you out there, you set some goals and you've been chipping away at it. You've been working at it. Maybe you're not where you want to be. So what I would do is I would build into my second half of the year, I'd build in a catch up program. Like I got to catch back up. I have to double down. Yeah. You got to figure out how you need to double down the second half of the year, because if you're going to let this year go by, again, maybe like last year, maybe like the year before, if you're going to let this year go by, what has you so convinced that 2025 is going to be different?
And you have time to catch up right now.
I do.
This is the time to catch up.
This is it.
Right now.
This is it.
No later.
Yeah, no later. Like when are you going to catch up in September?
Yeah. The last quarter of the year.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would stick with my game plan for the year. But I would make a 90-day, I call it a madman cycle, but I'd go in like a 90-day crazy cycle and do some things in the next 90 days that are unsustainable, like work at a pace that's unsustainable through the rest of the year.
Like cut out sugar?
Cutting out sugar is the worst. We almost had it. Well, we almost had a few domestics over cutting sugar.
I slammed a door in your face.
But seriously, like, you talk about getting up sugar. That's the fitness. So like, if you set some fitness goals, by the way, I'm going to give up sugar. So
is it time again?
I think we should talk about that. The
20th time.
But this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you started the year with a fitness plan to look a certain, it's not just business, by the way, it's fitness, personal, and you're not where you want to be, like a lot of us, yes, you got to do something drastic for the next 90 days that's unsustainable long-term, like giving up sugar.
Yeah, and you're talking to yourself right now.
Yeah, this podcast is for me. Do you have a mirror? Can somebody get me a mirror right now? I'm just going to kind of hold it up and talk to myself. But no, it's so funny you brought that up because this morning, I started a 90-day
no
plan. Okay. But why? Because I'm a little bit behind off behind.
Yep.
Oh, I know I'm off, right?
Yeah.
I'm a little behind where I want to be.
Yeah.
So I need 90 days to catch back up. And that's going to make sure I end the year on pace. So I even did it, started today. It was a rough weekend at the Stampede. There was a lot of deep fried food.
Steve loves sweets. Let me guess. Did you get deep fried Oreos?
I did. They slapped.
They're so good.
Yeah. But you know who else likes sweets? You like sweets.
Oh, we're going to throw me under the bus.
You like
which is
sweets.
the worst combination because Steve and I are like, want to share a Kit Kat?
Yeah. We'll be like on it.
Should we get some?
You know, like there's friends that like really good friends that are like, no, you're on a challenge. Like, don't do it. It's not worth it. You'll have to restart. Think of your health. Think of your kids. Don't do it. Last time you went down that road, you like mentally checked out. Lux is the opposite.
Oh, me?
No, I'm the opposite.
I'm the opposite, not we.
No. So like we'll be on a challenge and Alexa open the door. Yoo-hoo! Fresh muffins. Sugar-free? No, not sugar-free, but they're so good. Milk chocolate chips. Ooh. And then she'll like have one and then like cheers me on it. And we'll like go down together.
Yeah, because we're always like, well, if we do it together, we're both failing together.
She'll like walk by, like throw a Kit Kat on my desk, like just frisbee it. I was like, I'm on a challenge. You know, I'll start fresh tomorrow.
But they're always so hard. I mean, we do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, we do some crazy stuff.
We get crazy. We're like, zero sugar.
Yeah.
Guys, there's sugar in everything. Like we're talking like zero sugar. It's hard.
It is hard.
And we seriously did it one time. I think it was for a month that we did it. And we were being very, very serious about it. And it was so bad. The withdrawals were a real thing. Like they say that sugar is more addicting than cocaine.
I was changing my sheets every couple of days.
It was actually
bad.
really bad. It was. We were fighting a lot. I remember slamming a door and I was like, yeah, I hate you.
Yep. I remember that. But
we were fit.
But we were fit.
We were fit.
And that goes back to what we were saying is that for some of you guys watching that aren't where you need to be, you need a 30-day boot camp.
Yeah.
You need to take yourself to fat camp,
yeah.
Metaphorically speaking, maybe in business, maybe in your relationship. You got to swing that pendulum for a little bit of time. It's the only way you're going to get caught up, because if you want to start 2025 with no momentum and nothing going on, then you just keep doing what you're doing. If you're not where you want to be, you just keep doing what you're doing, and you know you're going to end up 2025 with no momentum. But if you don't want to be in that situation, then you might need a 30-day no sugar challenge. Even if you do lose a few relationships in the way, along the way.
Wow.
It's wild. So I think all in all, I think obsession and preparation, you know, in its own right at times can be healthy. Mm-hmm. It can push you.
So you used to be very like, back in the day, we were in such a serious grind mode. Like it was like we were working all the time and it was just this like savage, we gotta, you know, it was wild. Mm-hmm. And during those times you were very like, man, it would get you so worked up when people were not like, you know, you had somebody's goals and well, they were supposed to be at the office at night. Like you would get yourself so involved in all your people's goals because you cared so much. You were just like, why can't they be as intense as I am? Like, why don't they care? Why aren't they like this with their teams? Like, how did you get past that? Because you did. And it took you many years.
Wow.
It took you many years to get through that. And I'm curious, how did that happen? Because now you're kind of like, man, you would be like, so-and-so just walked in and it would piss you off. You'd be like, they're supposed to be here earlier. Yeah. I can't believe they're walking. We just talked about their goals and they're showing up at this time. Yeah. Like it would really affect you.
Wow. That's such a great question.
Yeah.
There was actually a turning point for me.
Wow.
Like this was a huge pivot for me. I can't believe you just brought this up. That was unscripted.
Yeah.
So I remember where I was. I was sitting in my old office and one of my old senior brokers walked in, and don't try and guess who.
I'm already like,
you'll figure it out.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there and I'm on a call with my mentor, with my coach. I was on a call with Ed Milet. And somebody walked in at 1 p.m. and I was just like, I remember just being like, ugh. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm so frustrated. I'm like, how do you do it, Ed? I said, how do you do it? How do you lead a team of people? I said, at the time, I had a small team. And I said, these men and women, they come to the office and they sit down and they say, I want to win for my kids. I want to win so bad. Look at the picture of my son. Look at him. Look at him. He's so cute, right? And my wife, oh my God, I love my wife. And I'm not a crier. Tissue. I'm wiping tears.
I need a tissue.
I'm mopping, right? I'm mopping. I'm pretending to cry. I'm right. I'm in there with them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then they leave and they don't do anything.
Yeah.
They literally show up at 1 p.m. the next day like they did the day before. I said, how do you do it?
Yeah.
He said, Steve, let me give you some advice. He said, this is the advice a mentor gave to me. He said, when you're mentoring somebody, when you're in that moment, you believe in them. You're all in with them. Yes, you're in the moment and you give them everything that you got. But the second that they walk out of your office or they get off that call, you don't attach any of your emotions to what they said. Yeah. You only attach your emotions to what they do. You've heard that before. Mm-hmm. So it clicked because I used to associate a big team with a big nightmare. If I had a small team and I had 3 or 4 people that weren't accomplishing their goals, that would hold me back. I'd lose sleep at night. I'd be like, is this me as a leader? What am I doing wrong? I can't relate to them. And then he goes, do you want to be able to relate to them? I was like, well, no. He's like, well, stop trying to relate to all the people. Stop trying to relate to people that show up late and don't want to set goals and don't have purpose. Don't worry about relating to them. He said, save all of your energy and pour it into the people that are showing you that they care. Mm-hmm. And even if they're not getting the results yet, but they're putting in the work, attach your emotional wagon to that. Yeah. And overnight, I let go. And guess what happened? As soon as I let go, the team got built.
Crazy.
And now I love everybody. I love my team. I believe in everybody. Mm-hmm. But guess what? I'm doing this with or without anybody.
Totally.
I am done slowing myself down, waiting for everybody to speed up. Mm-hmm. My job as the leader is to just continue to grow. Mm-hmm. And I continue to grow and move. And don't get me wrong. I'm still emotionally tied to my people. And you and I had a chat earlier before the podcast.
But there's a difference.
Situation, but there's
a difference. It doesn't hold you back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll think about it and you're like, okay, it's a bump in the road, but
it's funny.
Before it was like a noticeable affecting you.
It's funny you were there before and you were here after.
Different person for sure.
You can almost draw a line in the sand, Lex. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes with maturity, mentorship, growing up. And, I think too, when you're young in business, you're running out of fear. Mm-hmm. You're so afraid you're going to fail. You're like, what if my business doesn't work out? And what if everybody quits? And so you wake up scared. You're running and you're running and you're running and the cortisol is pumping and the dopamine is, and you're running, you're running away from broke, away from scared, away from everybody quitting. And that's that mindset of like, oh my God, these people aren't doing it. You get frustrated and then all of a sudden you let go and you start operating out of abundance.
Right.
And all of a sudden your whole energy shifts. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. It's beautiful.
What life experience can do because you were living out of like a emotional state in business, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's more of like just like pistons in an engine. You're just going. And it's just like, I'm going with or without you. And I love you so much, but I'm not going to let it affect me. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to support you as a mentor. And that's, it's very different, which is interesting.
Every once in a while, the old mindset seeps in. Mm-hmm. And, I have this thing that I just try and calm myself. And I say, Steve, everything's going to be okay. Look at the life that you've created.
Yeah.
Look at the life that you've created. Yes. And it just it brings me back to the moment, the present. I was driving my son home I was driving my son to golf yesterday, and he was sleeping in the passenger seat, and he just, oh man, you could just see like God through his eyes when he was sleeping. And I just had this moment where I was like, man, look what you created. Mm-hmm. Yes, things aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, you're behind on your goals for July. Yes, right. You're never going to be right. There's no finish line to life. The game of life is never won. It's just played.
Yeah.
But I had this moment yesterday, and I was like, I was so proud. I was so proud of like how far we've come and how far I've come and my kids, and definitely there's always work to do, but I had that moment. And yeah, it's how I deal with kind of the negativity when it seeps in.
And I'm always telling you, like, enjoy yourself. And just like,
you're the biggest encourager of me enjoying myself,
because life could end tomorrow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It could be done tomorrow. So and you have so much to be grateful for sure. And things have been, it's crazy to see what you've built. But again, I think that's what makes you successful is the fact that you're just like, you obsess over those things. There's an obsession when it comes to where you should be and your goals, and when people are not.
I think that's a really good kind of segue here as we start to end the call is, we started with like obsession and preparation and what it takes to win and setting goals and the mindset but I like kind of how we ended here where, when you care a lot and you prepare and you put in the time and you're trying to be a good person. I'm not saying I'm the best person in the world, but I try to be a good person most of the time anyway. I do my best. You get to a point where you do create this life, but if you're not careful and you don't enjoy it and you don't find those quiet moments,
yes,
you're just going to be the crazy son of a bitch, pardon my language, who's grinding.
Until the day they die, and not experiencing, like not just standing still for a minute and being like, wow, look at what I've built. Yes. Look at my family. Look at everything that I have to be grateful for. Yeah. And you could be that person that's just gone like this. And all he did was grind.
All he does is grind. Yeah. No, it's been good. I've really prided myself the last bit of just, taking some time and you're great for that. You're always reminding me to take time. And I remember the other day I was like, hey, what would it be like if I wasn't in the office every day at 8? How would it work? And you're like, it'd be awesome. And I was like, well, no, really. You're like, oh, it'd be great. It'd be awesome. It'd be fine. It'd be great. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Like if I showed up at 9 one day, like, you're like, oh yeah, it would be fine. Like, what do you mean? I'd be like, oh, whatever.
I said it would be better for me. Is what I said.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Because it just gives us some time. I can work without him here. And I'm like, when he comes in, I'm so ready. I'm like, wow, this is what's already happened today. Like, whereas when we're coming in, we're meeting right away. It tends to be like very I don't know, intense.
Yeah.
It's very
so, that just shows
you deserve to show up late every once in a while and go golfing once in a while. Like, you kidding me?
Yeah, for sure. You got to enjoy it, right?
Of course.
And that's what, if you are intense and you are obsessed and you love the game and you prepare for it like it's your sport, being able to, enjoy the fruits of the labor is something that I have been doing, and I intend to do more of that moving forward. So
it's time.
It is time. Oh, Lex, this is awesome. Yeah.
I can tell you're going to try and hug me after this.
No hugs. This is
no hug zone.
This is a no hug zone, just so you know.
Steve's a touch person.
I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves to just, even if it's just that.
Oh, wow. That was so nice.
Yeah.
I'll give you a fist pump today.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great.
All right, you guys. So that concludes our podcast. I know you got a ton of value out of that. There's a lot of things in there, that we've experienced over the last 9 years that have helped our business and help us grow. So stay tuned for the next one. Lex, we appreciate you being here. I hope you had fun too.
I can't wait for the next one.
Woo-hoo. I can't wait either. Okay, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
See you guys.